You ever find yourself stuck in one of those endless mental loops? You know, wrestling with those huge, unanswerable questions about life? Well, it turns out it's a feeling as old as time. Philosophers have been getting tangled up in these mental traps for thousands of years. But the Buddha, he offered a way to see the trap for what it really is. And, more importantly, a way out. All right, let's get into it.
I mean, this is the big one, isn't it? What am I? Am I some kind of timeless, spiritual soul that's going to live on forever? Or am I just this incredibly complex biological machine that one day is simply going to, well, power down? This is the core debate that can keep you up at night. And it was the intellectual battleground 2,500 years ago, just like it is today. So here's our game plan to unpack the Buddha's really unique approach. First, we're going to map out the philosophical maze that actually creates the trap. Then we'll look at the psychology of why we get so stuck in it. And finally, we'll explore the path he laid out, which is surprisingly practical, a path that doesn't lead to some grand answer, but to freedom itself. Right, so the Buddha looked at the whole philosophical scene of his time, and he didn't see people getting wiser. He saw what he called a thicket of views. Basically, a dense, tangled mess of arguments, where even the smartest people could get completely and hopelessly lost.
Just look at this. It's like a philosophical hall of mirrors. Is the world forever, or does it end? Is my soul part of my body, or is it something totally separate? The thing is, for every single one of these positions, there was an equally smart opposite one. It was just a total intellectual stalemate. It didn't lead to any clarity, just more confusion.
And he started to notice that these endless debates really circled around two major obsessions. Some people were fixated on the ultimate beginning of everything, the distant past. But the real main event, the real heavyweight championship of ideas, was fought over our ultimate destiny, the distant future. And yeah, this was the big one, eternalism versus annihilationism. You had one camp declaring that the self is an immortal soul, this undying core that's going to survive the body. And the other camp insisted that nope, death is the end. Game over. You're just gone. Sound familiar? It's the exact same debate we're still having today. And here's the crucial insight. This is the Buddha's big move. He basically stepped out of the boxing ring entirely. He pointed out that nobody was arguing from their own direct personal experience. These were all just elaborate belief systems, built on faith or some really fancy logic, or, let's be honest, just what people wanted to be true. They were ideas, not facts. So that brings us to the absolute heart of the problem. Because the trap isn't the ideas themselves. It's our psychological relationship to them. It's about what our minds do with these big theories. There's a key word for this in the Pali language, upadana. It gets translated as clinging or grasping, but it also, and this is so important, means fuel. Think of it as the mental fuel that keeps the engine of our anxiety running. It's that moment we grab onto an idea and we say, yes, this is me, this is mine, this is my truth. And this next image just illustrates the result perfectly. The Buddha used this really striking metaphor. A person who's attached to a certain view is like a dog tied to a post. It just runs in these frantic, desperate circles, completely bound by the very thing it identifies with. The post, that's the fixed belief. The leash, that's upadana, the clinging. And get this, the trap is incredibly subtle. The Buddha warned that it's not just about these big, abstract philosophies. You could be in the middle of the most profound, blissful state of meditation, and the second you think, this is it. I found it. This is the ultimate truth. You've just tied yourself to a new, very shiny post. Okay, so if debating cosmic theories is a trap, and even clinging to blissful feelings is a trap, what's the alternative? Well, the Buddha proposed something radical, totally revolutionary. He said, forget about trying to define ultimate reality. Instead, turn your attention to the only reality you can ever know directly, your own moment-to-moment experience. He laid out this incredibly practical map. He called it the 6 sense bases. Everything you have ever known or ever will know comes to you through one of these 6 channels. What you see, what you hear, smell, taste, and touch. And, this is the real game changer, what you think. The mind itself is treated as a sense organ, one that perceives thoughts and ideas. And that's the genius of this shift, right there. The goal is no longer to win some argument about what the self is. The goal is to become a kind of scientist of your own mind, to just see for yourself, how does a sensation pop up? How does a thought appear? What do they feel like? And where do they go? Where is the freedom in that constant changing flow?
Because when you shift your focus from trying to pin reality down with a belief to simply watching the flow of your own experience, the entire foundation of the trap just dissolves right out from under you. This all leads to the ultimate aim, a state called anupadavimokko. It's this beautiful term that means release or liberation through non-clinging. It's not some state you have to achieve or fight for. It's the natural peace that's already there when the mind finally stops its compulsive habit of grasping, when it stops adding fuel to the fire. So really, the big takeaway here is this. The way out of the philosopher's trap isn't to find a better, smarter philosophy. Real freedom is just letting go of the rope. It's that profound sense of relief that comes when you no longer need a fixed answer to tell you who you are. And that brings it all right back to us, here and now. We might not be up at night debating eternalism, but we all have our posts, don't we? Those identities, those opinions, the stories about ourselves that we cling to and run circles around day after day. So the question is, what's yours?